And we are live. Hey, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for being here on this beautiful Tuesday, wherever you are, morning, afternoon, evening. Yeah, so for anyone who's tuning into these shows for the first time, this is Mankind's Quest for True Health, where I'm joined each week or each show with Kasey from the channel Vegetable Police, and we bring on a guest expert each time, and we're just uncovering, this route to optimum health. We all want to come back to this period, this body in stasis. Get back to this balance. And what is the best way to do that? So we bring on a different perspective each time to kind of share their expertise. And this time, this episode, we are honored and humbled to be joined by Jonstearns, aka the Mangotarian. And John has taken this fantastic approach after learning under Dr. Robert Morse and learning from Arnold Ehret to adopt the mucusless diet and really shift our body from the acidic state back to the alkaline state. And I love John's approach because he's really a no bullshit kind of guy. He sees the truth. He sees what the simple truth is, and you can either accept it or you don't. And he's not here to sugarcoat it. He's not here to make it palatable in any sort of way, which I really appreciate, because those of y'all who watch me know that I take the same approach with the truth. When we know the truth, there's no compromise. It just is what it is. You can take it or leave it. So yeah, with that,
noticed in my comment section, by the way, there, Mangotarian, he lets you have it.
Yeah. So with that, with that, I'll pass it over to Kasey for some opening words, and then we'll hand it over to John for some opening remarks as well.
How's it going, everybody? So I just completed my longest dry fast ever, 90 hours. And it was not the easiest thing I've ever done. Like, my previous best was 64 hours in Thailand, and it was very humid and I'm sweating, and it was much harder back then because I was eating salt and Thailand restaurant foods. And this time I didn't start it brilliantly. I was at a protest doing this like super long walk in the hot sun, and my meal was those steamed bananas, like zero water content. And so I was joking, I was with Free Melon Society and some friends down there, and I had that last bite of banana, and I was like, my dry fast starts now, fellas. And then like 1 hour later, I was like, okay, we're breaking the dry fast for now. I just need some water. I was just so thirsty. So it was the dumbest way to start a dry fast, but I had some water 4 p.m. and then just kept going 90 hours, almost 4 days. And it was good. I felt okay. I was tired and weak, but it went well. So I like that path, like fasting, fruit cleansing, and then I do kind of come back to some starch life sometimes. I'm sure Mangotarian will scold us for it and tell us why it's bad, because it's not like the optimal. I can tell it's very obvious that fruit digests so much better than starch, but it's an addiction. I'm fully admitting I am addicted to potatoes right now, and I see it. It's hard to get off them, even though they're not ideal. So we'll talk about that, but that's just what I've been up to, fasting, and we're just building back up again. And one thing, when I first did my 64-hour dry fast in Thailand, I lost 14 and a half pounds in that 16 or 64 hours. This time I weighed myself after 64 hours on this dry fast, and I had only lost 4.5 pounds. So that goes back to what Free Melon Society was saying. Like, when he does a juice fast, he doesn't lose any weight anymore. Like, he's hydrated, he's healthy. Once you do this for a while, like, you go on this fruit cleanse or something, like, you don't get to the skinny skeleton. You're just normal. Like, you don't lose as much. So I feel like that's progress in the right direction. So that's what I got.
Nice. Thanks, brother. Thanks for being here. Yeah, John, what you got for us today?
Yeah, I could totally relate with that. I've done many juice fasts in the past, and I would lose weight, drastically. And then over the years, just from, getting that small bowel cleaned up and improving your absorption, I definitely have noticed maybe 4-6 pounds I'll lose during a juice fast. But a lot of people, they may they may do the juice. They're not drinking enough juice, or they're over drinking juice. Anything that's going to shock the system, could cause that. If we don't understand the endocrine system and how we have blood sugar and all this. I mean, there's many different fundamentals that tie to that, but I could definitely relate there. So I don't know. I don't really have much to say on that. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, we can jump right into questions. Yeah, just thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate you for hopping on, and appreciate you for joining us today. So yeah, I guess we'll go kind of just get into an introduction for you. So what kind of got you onto the path of healing, and what helped you get to the space where you are now?
Well, I'm on Thailand satellite right now, and the connection's pretty piss poor. So I didn't quite hear your question. Can you say that again, bro? I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could just give a summary on how you came onto your healing journey and what got you to the space you are now.
Oh, for sure. That's a long story. Pretty much one day I woke up and I took a piss, and 10 minutes later I was on my knees in pain. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? Did my wife give me cheating on me? I obviously have no idea what's going on. And I thought I UTI or something. And away after about 40 minutes. And then throughout the day, obviously we have to go pee more than once. Same thing happened again. I went pee, and just this intense burning pain in the urethra. And it scared the shit out of me. And obviously my lifestyle, it contributed to that.
Oh, I might have lost him.
I've had that same pain. I remember drinking beers in a bar with my buddies. I was like 17. Same bladder pain.
Yeah, John, it might be best, at least for a minute, is if you just turn off your video. Sometimes that helps preserve the audio. And
no, what did you say?
If you turn off your video feed, so turn off your camera, and then just have the audio, so that way we can hear you a little bit clearer.
Yeah, because it just completely dumped out. So
yeah.
Thailand internet, it rivals the Mexican internet.
Yeah, right. Oh man. It's like it's funny. It's like you'd almost rather have no internet at all than to have slow internet. Slow internet is just the painful.
maybe I should have connected it to Wi-Fi. Like maybe this is not the best route. Hot spotted.
We can hear you a little bit clearer now. So
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I have problems. So I had a feeling that this would probably happen, but I was hoping it wouldn't. So did you hear all that?
So we heard the part about the 2 times where you had the burning sensation when you peed, and how it scared the shit out of you, and that's where we kind of left off.
Yeah. And so I knew at that point that my lifestyle most likely, obviously I know now, it contributed to that. And so immediately when that happened, I'm going to doctors, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. They don't have answers. They're checking my urine and they're stuck on the germs theory. So they're like, well, we don't see bacteria here, so we don't know what to do for you. And so that left me, at home, just searching on the internet and trying to find, have there been other people dealing with these types of issues? And, this prostatitis thing started to come up. And so I started really obsessively looking into that, because the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. It wasn't like some kind of bacteria infection or anything like that. I learned later that it was interstitial. And so I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think it was somebody that was following Robert Morse, I think one of Robert Morse's students, he had a short clip in a video where he said that he cured his prostatitis on Robert Morse's protocol. And so I Googled Robert Morse to figure out who he was. And then I went on his YouTube channel and I started just binge watching his videos, because every single day for at least 4 months without any answers, every time I went pee, it was just a constant burning pain. Not only in my urethra, but in my testicles and my colon, just all through me. And I remember hearing Robert Morse say, when you pee out the acids, the pain goes away. And so right there, that was enough for me to go, okay, I'm listening to this guy. Because I was peeing out acids, at least it felt like that. And so just by watching Robert Morse and, hear about kidney filtration and the lymphatic system and how, there's only two sides of chemistry, and acid and alkaline and acidosis, all these terms I've never heard before. So really, really inspired me. And I felt really intrigued to go this route, because doctors weren't giving me any information. I at the time, I really didn't want to go see doctors, but my family was, wanting me to go continually, to get tests done and MRIs and all these things that just didn't make any sense. There was no common sense to it at all. So I had to come to terms with what was going on. And I'm like, you know what? This is the only guy on the internet that's making sense when I observed my symptoms. And so I started doing it. I got obsessed and I started learning everything I could learn about the lymphatic system, about acidosis. And so at that point, I started transitioning into the fruit diet. I was pretty much on green juices, bananas, and sweet potatoes. And so after learning about Robert Morse and the fruitarian lifestyle, you're not going to heal and move your lymph system and properly hydrate the body and get it alkaline so that these acids will start coming out of you. And I started checking my urine on a daily basis, because he was saying on his videos, you got to pee in a jar and let it sit and see what you see in your urine. That clear urine indicates that your kidneys aren't filtering. And your kidneys are your eliminative organ that are responsible for draining this great lymphatic system. And so, he started saying you got to be all raw and you got to focus on the fruit. And so I quickly started transitioning off of those foods. And one day, after about a week on fruit and green juice, I saw kidney filtration. And that alone just kind of like, all right, I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. And over time, I just started learning about that and just experimenting with certain fruits. And I found that mangoes were really good for me at the time. They're very satiating. They kept me on the path, and my kidneys were filtering good with them, and the herbs. And then I started getting into intermittent fasting. And so after about 4 or 5 months, I started noticing, improvements. And so at that stage, I knew that, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. This is working. And that's when I became, really, really passionate about learning everything I could learn, so that I could not only heal myself, but during that time, I felt like, okay, I'm like 50% there. That's enough for me to be sold out to this protocol. I'm going to help people in the meantime, because I don't want anyone to ever experience what I went through. I had this awakening where this empathy and this compassion just flooded into me. And so I just took all the knowledge and all the information that I learned, and I started getting on social media and spreading it everywhere. And it just kind of turned into a thing where, I gained a following, and it just morphed into this lifestyle of experimenting with fasting and being a total fruitarian for 2.5 years, all raw for 3. And then I started experimenting with cooked foods, and I learned a lot. So to answer your question, what got me on the path was I found Robert Morse, and that saved my life.
Yeah, and if you go through and you look at John's older work, I mean, his commitment is still the same from the get-go. He takes what he learns and he experiments with it and he puts it into practice. And that's the simple truth of it. So I really appreciate that approach, because it does help any of us who are going through that maybe not have to go through all the same mistakes or same issues, and really learn from what you've done and how you've gotten to the space where you are. So thank you for that. It truly does show.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I got obsessed with helping people heal. You know, it became an obsession for me. You know, it's very rewarding and exhilarating when you know that you could take somebody that's hopeless and has no answers, and they've been totally brainwashed by the system, to help them understand that there is hope and there are ways to heal. And so my goal is not to help people gain perfect health, because I haven't gained perfect health. I take responsibility, and I totally understand that I've abused my body at such a high level that it wouldn't make sense for me to think that I'm going to just become Superman, after all the damage that I created. But the regeneration that I have experienced has been on a level that is just, it's insane. And so it's not a job for me. And that's why I would do it for free if I had other means to make money. It's like a high that I get when I hear from people that John, I took your protocol serious and I healed this condition, or I healed that condition. Or working with people's children and they have full on steroid withdrawal, or, they've been injured with vaccines, and this is going on YouTube, isn't it?
It's all right.
And, they have full blown neurological problems, and just hearing from the parents that the behavioral issues are improving, their sleep is improving, their mood is improving, they're able to articulate and communicate more effectively. It's just, it becomes kind of a high, like, just to know that, like, you're just recommending this simple knowledge, and you're coming to them with an energy of, you could do anything, you could overcome anything. And so that alone, they're already inspired by you, but then you're inspiring them with all this confidence. Because I remember Robert Morse had all this confidence. And so that kind of just, like, I just absorbed that confidence as I became a detox specialist as well. And so I've noticed that the more that, like, I come with that positive energy, my clients also, they really get far in their healing, because, they trust what you're doing. But I always try to, instill in my clients that, hey, listen, don't get so consumed with what I'm telling you to do, because if you do, you're going to forget about your own intuition, and you're going to, it may block you from, doing simple things that you might miss because you're overthinking it. And that's what really helps you to learn along the way, like Vegetable Police, he's on the journey and he experiments, and that's how we kind of learn, by experimenting with things, and not like feeling like we have to do what everyone tells us to do. And so, I try to instill that in them. I don't know really where I'm going with this, but yeah, thank you, man. Thank you, man, for acknowledging that. I really appreciate that. And I think that I'll probably do this forever, as long as I, have the ability to help people with this information. And there's always so much to learn. And I definitely don't want to ever come with the attitude that I have it all figured out, because I definitely don't. And that's why I wanted to come on this show in the first place, because it's about, collecting information, being open-minded, and teaching each other, learning from each other. And what is it? Wandering into the truth, or what is that?
Wandering toward truth, because we're all wandering together. Just as long as as long as our direction is towards the truth, then we're heading the right way. So we can take some detours, we can figure some things out, and then make mistakes. But there's no such thing as really making mistakes, as long as your intent is that pure and going towards the truth, which I know that all three of us are aligned on that path for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, I turned down a lot of these kind of roundtable types of lives, or because I don't feel that with a lot of people, and so I definitely felt that with you, and that's why I'm here, because I like things to be transparent, authentic, and natural, no agenda attached.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks, brother. And it's you summed it up perfectly with this idea that a lot of people, even in the health community, no matter what you're doing, people define themselves based on something outside of themselves, and start to build their reality based on other people's perceptions, or other people's thoughts, other people's ideas, or how someone else has done it, which is always a dead end path. It's only going to get you so far, but then you're going to be stuck. Now, but if you can transmute that, and if you can go the opposite direction, we're like, no, I'm taking ownership of this path. I can take input from the out there world. I can take different experiences and build on this, but I have to build my foundation off my experience and my intuition, which is ultimately my connection to source or my connection to God.
Right.
So it's beautifully said, because when you realize that, that's when the magic really starts to happen. You can truly stay present, you can truly stay in the moment, and it just gets better and better from there. So really like how you summarized that.
Yeah, one mind, my friend, for sure. I like the way you said that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Morse.
Yeah.
There's something about him, his energy. Like he's an old man. I think he's pushing 70 almost. But there's this spunk. He has this fire in him, and it's that confidence as a healer, which I hate that I don't really have that yet, because I veer off onto so many different paths, and I kind of doubt, like, oh, it's all detox, and I don't have that yet. But it's inspiring to hear somebody who like knows that that's the path. And it's what got me started. Like I was on fruit base, and then I heard about Dr. Morse and bought his book and took his course. And it's good to have that knowledge. And the kidney filtration, I think that's something, it's a weird one. What I figured out on this dry fast, like I used to think when I go on a dry fast, I notice the kidney filtration kick up huge. Like I see these clouds, whereas when I'm on fruit based, I don't see that at all. And so I thought that it's just like the concentration of urine just gets so, like it would have been there, but you can't see it because you're taking in so much water from the fruit, that it's like it's still there, but you can't see it. And then you dehydrate yourself down, and then you see it. But what I noticed on this 90-hour fast was, after the first day, I saw that huge cloud, and I was like, okay, here it starts. But after, like the third day, I didn't see it anymore. It was still that same concentrated, almost like apple cider vinegar type of color. But there was no sediment that I saw in it. So I think that first 36 hours does something magical for the kidneys, that just, you start to flush out a lot of stuff, and then it calms down for a bit. What are your findings, John, on like kidney filtration? Like, do you see a lot of sediment even though you're eating like all this fruit and high water content, but you still see those clouds? Or
Yeah, I see it no matter what I eat nowadays. In the beginning, it was always different. But nowadays, after doing all that work, whether I do a 16 to 24 dry fast, I mean, I've been doing 16 to 20 and somewhere in that range for like 5 years now. But yeah, in the beginning, I had to do those long-term juice or dry fasts to see that sediment, but I don't anymore. I mean, obviously, if I'm doing a 23-hour, dry fast, and let's say I have like a 12 ounce of orange juice, I'm going to see a lot more versus, just a regular day of eating. But nowadays, it doesn't matter what I eat. Even if I cheat and go off, I see it consistently the same. So yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, obviously when you're hydrating and you're putting more fluids, it's gonna be diluted, and you're not gonna see it as much. But all I know about this kidney filtration, not to get scientific, because I don't think anybody really has a real clear scientific explanation of it, but just dealing with pain in the testicles, in the prostate, and not getting any relief until I started filtering properly on a consistent level, that went away drastically. And so that's really what wired me to go, this guy's telling the truth. These are acids. This is, lymphatic waste, coming out of me, because that went away. So yeah, I mean, we could obviously, we experiment and we try to find better ways to get the kidneys to filter. And dry fasting, obviously you're resting the kidneys, so they're not being overworked trying to empty the bladder of all this fluid and that you consume throughout the day, and especially water, which doesn't properly get absorbed into the cells because they're void of electrolytes, so the body doesn't use it, so it gets rid of it quickly. So I've learned the more that we work the kidneys and bladder, they never relax enough to filter properly, That's been my experience. And so that's why you know, I've been able to heal the arthritis, the degeneration in the lower back. I mean, it would be interesting to see if I've actually like built up collagen in my disc in my lower back, because I did a measurement not long ago and I was like an inch taller than I used to be. So yeah, you know, there's so much to learn about the kidney filtration though, you know, and all of that, because like with the dates, I remember I experimented with dates, you know, because I found that for some reason when I ate dates, the filtration, which is much better than, you know, just a day eating mangoes or melons or whatever. And so I thought it was, well, dried fruits absorb water in the body. So it's absorbing more water, which, you know, it kind of sets you up for the dry fast in the sense to where the kidneys are relaxed. And so that's what's encouraging the filtration. But then I started to do research on the dates and I realized that they're high in oxalate. And so when you're consuming high amounts of oxalate like that, and your kidneys are cracked open and you are filtering properly, it could be that it's all that oxalate crystals coming in your urine, you know? So I don't know. I'm just going back and trying to think about things that I've experimented with to help improve kidney filtration. And pretty much what I've learned is that we can't make these things happen quickly. It's just being consistent over time. And that's why I filter no matter what I eat. Of course, if I went way off, I mean, I'm on an optimal diet for the most part. 90% of what I eat is healthy, but I do have wiggle room and I do like to have fun sometimes. And I don't take things too serious. But, and I think that's helped me to kind of realize, like, that's why people that eat shit food, you know, they're not coming down with serious health problems because they're lucky to be filtering. And so when I see filtration, no matter what I eat, that's what's keeping me healthy. But I also make sure that my proteins are low. I don't keep them super low because I'm kind of in a bodybuilding phase right now. And I've noticed that a little bit of protein does help accelerate muscle growth for muscle mass. Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful in any way, but did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, all the tips you can give on that kidney filtration, because I feel like that's an area a lot of people struggle. Some get it immediately after a couple weeks and it's like, oh, cool, kidneys are fine. And others are like 10 years later. Me, like sometimes I don't see it at all. And it's weird. And
Yeah.
the oxalates, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I get a lot of people like carnivores on my channel saying, oh, those oxalates are killing you. But if you look like into traditional kidney treatments, it's always these super high oxalate foods that help heal bladder and kidney infections, like cranberries. They're super high in oxalates, and it's like they're doing something good for the kidneys. And yeah, it's a tough puzzle to solve sometimes. But the protein, I do believe that's where I kind of went wrong. I'm trying to build this muscle and I do kind of eat higher on the protein side, but it's been very low lately. Just like potatoes are my highest protein food. Those are basically a fruit when it comes to protein. So I have felt a lot of benefit from that, just keeping the protein super low. I don't know if I'll lose the rest of my muscle or what, but I still feel pretty strong. Hopefully I can build some muscle and no protein whatsoever. That would be inspiring to see.
I think I'm a good example of that, because I'm building muscle right now on a low protein diet, and I'm putting in the work. I don't normally hit the weights and do bench press, and I've been doing bench presses and inclines and just hitting heavy, low reps, and I'm seeing muscle mass come on me, and I do not pump the proteins at all. I really don't. I mean, the highest protein that I would go to would probably be, I mean, these aren't even considered high protein foods, but I'm just, you know, if it's not fruit, like potatoes or sweet potatoes. Outside of that, that's it. And those aren't really, you know, for protein sources, but I'm learning that if you lift heavy weight and you eat enough calories that are, you know, for your metabolic profile, whatever your needs are, you should be able to accelerate muscle growth if you're consistent. But I'm trying to kind of experiment with that myself and see what I could do to inspire some people with that, because my diet is so simple, and you know, I don't eat grains and beans and that sort of thing. to get more protein out of those foods. For one, the body really doesn't utilize protein. It's the amino acids the body is looking for. And that's why too much protein has been known to be hard on the kidneys, because, you know, these protein structures are acid forming. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think all three of us would agree that this hyper focus on protein is really not necessary. And I'll even go back to the oxalate as well. I'm not against oxalate, but what I think is going on is that people have parathyroid weakness and they don't utilize calcium properly. So if they are on a diet with calcium and that binds to the oxalate, I think it interacts with calcium absorption. So the body doesn't know what it's doing, so it steals more calcium out of people. And then, you know, you might see that in the urine. So I'm also kind of trying to observe that as well, this connection to bone and connective tissue with people that are jumping into detoxing, jumping into fasting so quickly. And the body gets kind of confused and tries to buffer these acids that aren't properly being eliminated. So it steals from bones, connective tissue. And then people start running into those types of problems. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know, like, okay, I wonder if, you know, I don't know, it's just something to experiment with it. I'm not hung up on this oxalate stuff too. I mean, because there's a lot of bro science attached to that. And yeah, but I don't know. I just think that maybe that's what's going on with the dates. I'm not sure, but they are typically high in oxalate, and they absorb water as well. So if you're doing it on an intermittent dry fast, you don't have a lot of fluid anyway. So maybe it's a good way to kind of pull out those crystals or whatever, because they're binding to calcium or whatever. I don't know. All I know is that if you hydrate and you alkalize and you achieve kidney filtration in that environment, then so far people get results. The problem is not enough people do it consistent enough to get those results. Maybe there are some that are, and they're struggling. Maybe their constitution and genetics are not too solid, or they got a lot of stress in their life and they're not dealing with their emotions in their mind, because that ties to a lot of things as well. And too much stress burns out the adrenal glands. And then when the adrenal glands get burnt out, the whole body gets constipated because of neurotransmitters. If you don't produce neurotransmitters, you don't get peristalsis. What's peristalsis? It's what Robert Morse would say. It's tug and pull. You know, it's your cardiac punch, right? You need neurotransmitters to help, you know, contract muscles. And so your bowels are a muscle. Your kidneys are tissue, right? It's muscle at some level. So that's another, you know, thing that helps with kidney filtration as well. I remember, if I go back in time, I can't say this objectively, but when I, you know, got away from the wife, you know, and all the toxicity that went into that relationship, and I said, you know what, babe, I got to take a vacation right now and fix myself. And you're not supporting me on this journey, and I can't let anybody pull me into something that I don't feel like I can resonate with. And you know, the whole story that goes with that. So I moved away, and I got, you know, in my nice little, you know, I created this little sanctuary in my studio in San Diego, and I just, you know, put happy photos on the wall and just became a full-blown hippie, you know, because I needed something like that to just relax me. And I realized the more relaxed I was, the more I was totally just like surrendered to this new life that I was creating, which was, I'm not going to do what I'm told. I'm not going to acquiesce to the waves of the world and live this mundane life, this 8 to 5. I'm going to create a life I want to live. And that accelerated that, just what's the word for that? It's, anyways, I just felt just so motivated, and just that good positive energy helped me to start looking into manifestation and the law of attraction and all those things. And so I noticed that I would, all of a sudden, this mucoid plaque is coming out of me like crazy. My kidneys are filtering good. And then, you know, my muscles started coming back slowly, and my strength and my motivation. And I'm like talking to women that are so beautiful and like just having so much confidence. The reason I say that is because I remember as a young child, I used to feel kind of inferior to other people. I used to feel shy, and, you know, I didn't have that confidence. Well, as the adrenals got stronger, as my body got alkaline, I built up this confidence that I never had before. And just, it all tied back into those adrenal glands. And living a stress-free life, living a life that resonates with your core being and your intuition, really helps like boost your batteries. You know, it helps activate those neurotransmitters, you know, and neurotransmitting hormones, right? Like we think of dopamine and acetylcholine and serotonin. These are all things that make you feel good, right? And that's how people heal themselves with the power of the mind, because they're activating those receptors in the brain. And that like ties into how the body eliminates, you know? So when you stop overthinking, or when you stop obsessing and you let go and you find yourself being content, I'm telling you, you're going to notice your kidneys filtering better. You're going to notice your bowels moving better. And you know, I noted that with my clients, those that really look at this in a holistic way, you know, they're going outside, they're grounding to the earth, they're changing up their relationships, they're tapping into their intuition, because they're removing obstructions in their life, so they're able to see clearly what's obstructive and what's not. And as you start to transform and transition into that, there's a guy that I met in Australia where he was like kind of like a student of mine, and then now he's like full-on public figure, and like he's helping hundreds of people all over the world. And he used to just be this overthinker and obsessed with everything. I mean, this guy's done like 300 colonics in like 2 months or something crazy. Like, and when he let go of that, like, I got to get it done now, I got to get it done now, I watched him just heal drastically. And you just get to see that, like the power come into people when they start working on their spiritual life. So yeah, so anyways, to tie that back into those that I work with that have a strong mind seem to be those that get more results quicker than those that are, you know, living in uncertainty and doubt and still kind of searching for the next thing that might change their lives. You know what I mean? Guys, you have to cut me off because I could ramble at times. Just let me know.
No, you got good stuff. So I appreciate you sharing. And it's you touched on a very important note, which is this idea that we can get so fixated on just the food or just what we're consuming, and disregard and ignore everything else, which arguably plays an even bigger role. And I think having that perspective that I'm not healing my body just to heal my body. I'm healing my body to grow closer to the divine, to grow closer to myself, and grow closer to this grand experience that we're having, that truly allows you to step into that space and really examine what are the other factors that might be playing into the difficulties that I'm overcoming right here. And, you know, we come into this realm with these sort of barriers and things to bypass. And it's not all health related. We've got a lot of different things to access and uncover. Sometimes the health might be the first thing that you need to look at. Oftentimes the easiest one and the most tangible one to take a look at first. But if you're not looking at that holistic approach, like you said, then you're going to be lacking, and it's going to come back and inhibit your journey as far as pursuing that optimal health too. So really well said. Really glad you went into that.
Yeah, and I could also look at that and kind of observe, like, how much credit do I give to that, say, Robert Morse's protocol? You know, I mean, I think that was a stepping stone to help build up that confidence in me, to where I started to create that positivity, and I like found myself like, you know, just not hyper. I used to be a very hyper focused person. You know, I'd hyper focus and analyze everything and try to understand everything. And when I let that go, and I'm just like, I don't need to create stress in my life. I don't need to try to fit a mold that doesn't resonate with me. And when I just surrender to me, that's when, and that's where I think I healed so you know, effectively in that community, the Robert Morse healing community, because I work with a lot of people. People don't realize how many people I work with in this community, like pretty much everyone. And I get to hear their voice, and I get to listen to their heart. And I'm telling you, that one thing that always gets in the way is their worry, their mind, their stress. And then they share their intimate and personal stories of their relationships. And I see it. And I'm like, you got to make a change with that. You can't hold on to that, because how can you heal if you're creating all this stress? I mean, acids are a stressor. Acids are irritants. Well, if we create stress in the mind, we're also creating irritants and acids in the body as well. So it's like we're trying to get rid of acids, but yet we're just piling them in because we're not looking at the big picture. So that's something that I want to instill and help people to look at, because it's been helpful for me, you know, because I've been looking at health for like 15 years. That's the one thing in school that I paid attention to the most was physiology, anatomy, health, you know, and it really interests me. And so I used to be really obsessed with supplements, and I've done every diet you could think of. I even went the carnivore route as well before it was like a trendy thing to heal my prostatitis, because you know, I thought it was a candida problem, right? So I got to starve out the candida, and you know, I can't eat starches, you know, because all these sugars, if they're not metabolized, create fermentation, which is true, and then that could create a cluster of fungus. And when fungus eats, as they do, all microbes eat, consume, and must eliminate. They create uric acid from their shit, and you know that. So I thought that's exactly what it was, and I learned that it was that, but I was trying to go about fixing it the wrong way. I was trying to starve my body with sugar, and I didn't get results from that. I really didn't at all. And you know, and so I didn't, because my adrenals were down. You put somebody on a carnivore diet that has real severe. Well, actually, some people react well to it temporarily because they're getting those steroids and those neurotransmitters and that adrenaline in the meat itself, which helps the adrenal glands, you know, function, because they can't function without any kind of stimulant, right? But it didn't work for me. It clogged me up. I was constipated, and the pain just got worse and worse. And so then I went to the keto diet and tried to deal with my prostatitis doing that. Didn't work. Okay, let's do paleo diet, you know, and of course with me, you know, like being really passionate type of person, I'm getting all the best stuff, which obviously now I know it's not the best no matter if it's organic or not, but I'm getting like grass finished meat, you know, and eggs, and like I'm living in Southern California. So like I'm going to all the expensive organic places, and you know, they're raising chickens in their backyards, you know, and all this stuff. I'm getting all the best stuff. And obviously, you know, it didn't work for me. And then, and so, yeah, so that's what, you know, just, I found the fruit and it worked. And that's why sometimes I get frustrated when I hear all this nonsense out there about sugar, you know, and how we compare fruit sugar to processed sugar, and how it metabolizes and has the same, you know, assimilation process in the body, like high fructose corn syrup and all this stuff. But yes, so I'm just babbling at this point, but you have another question?
There's a lot of fear about sugar, and what you were saying, like, so like this fungus and candida overgrowth and everything, are you saying they do feed off sugar? But like, how do you fix that? Because I notice it with the starch, it seems worse than the fruit, like this fungus. Because when I get the tiny forehead bumps, I think that's fungal acne from what I've researched, and it gets worse on the starch, slightly, it's still bad on the fruit, but worse on the starch. And it's like, what is the solution to, like, do you have to kill off this fungus, or is that just a matter of cleaning out the lymph finally to where the fungus, because from what I've heard, the fungus actually is helping you like detoxify heavy metals and stuff. And it's like, it's a beneficial thing, but why won't it leave the body? Get the hell out of my body already. Let me have my potatoes.
Yeah, no, well, hey, I eat potatoes and I don't have an issue like I used to when I ate them before. And that's what, you know, it helped me understand that it's not the sugar, it's the metabolism of the sugar. And so obviously starches are complex sugars, so it's harder for the adrenals to produce these, you know, steroids to help metabolize them, to break them down so they can properly get transported into your cells. And so it's an adrenal gland issue, and fruits are a simple sugar, and they're hydrating on top. So they help shift the terrain, they help keep the body cleaner. So you're removing all the debris in the gut that they feed off of as well. But yeah, this concept of microbes, yeah, they're there to help to clean up the waste that you create. But if the whole idea is to not create waste so that we could bring them in. So I don't know how that helps with detoxification, except for it just cleans up the sewage that you keep putting in the body. But you know, knowing your case, you know, because I've looked at your eyes, you have lymphatic problems, man. You have, just like me. When I look at your eyes, it reminds me of myself, you know, because you have an adrenal weakness. You have that genetic weakness in your adrenals. You're prone to fungus big time. But that can improve over years because I had the worst case of fungus as well. I would get all those patches everywhere, groin itch, anal itch, all of that stuff. And once I got my adrenals really strong, which it just took time and effort on the fruit diet and just, consistently doing that over the years and changing my environment. I moved to Thailand because it's more peaceful than California. I could, it's very, and it's the tropics too. I'm activated in this environment. So it's all conducive to a less stressful life, which is going to be better on your adrenal gland. So it ties into your environment as well. But if you can get those adrenals turned on, then over time, you won't have an issue with the starches like you are now. And so back to what I was saying, it's not the sugar, it's the fermented sugar that they feed off of. That's why, Robert Morris calls it a fungal food, because people have adrenal weakness, so they're not metabolizing the starch. And then people put fat, with the starch, and they use the oils and all of that. So now it's causing insulin resistance even more, and so the sugars aren't being metabolized. So it's when the fungus gets out of control, they're there to help you, but the problem is they're shit. Am I allowed to cuss on this? I don't know, but
Yeah.
That's the problem. Their crapola is acidic, and so that's where the problem lies. But over time, that's improved with my own personal experience. I used to, if I had a cheat day back in the day with starchy foods, immediately I would get this itch on my ass and my thighs, these little patchy bumps. I know for a fact that's fungus, and then I'd go back to the fruit and boom, it's gone in 2 days. But now, let's say, on Sundays, I give myself the option to have a treat day, if I have some starchy foods, I don't get those breakouts anymore. It doesn't lower my energy. I actually get the fuel from the sugar. But obviously, like you said earlier, the digestion is just nothing compared to fruit. Nothing compared to fruit. And also, what I've been experimenting with is going on a low cellulose diet. A lot of us fruitarian raw vegans, we get obsessed with being raw, and we end up eating all this cellulose. Cellulose isn't bad in itself, but too much cellulose is a problem. One, we don't create cellulase. We don't produce the enzyme cellulase to break down the cellulose. So cellulose pretty much is just there to kind of, bulk in the stool to help sweep out the colon. That's what it's there for, the insoluble fiber. But the problem is, if you have pancreatic weakness on top, and let's say you have microbiome issues, you don't have a lot of bacteria or healthy microbes to help break down the foods that may not be digested properly to make up for the pancreas not working for you. And so too much of that cellulose and too much of that plant matter that's not being fully digested. And as we know, when we go to the bathroom, we see it right there in the toilet. I think that can create more fermentation as well. And that's what's contributing to a lot of people's gut-related problems. It's too much fermentation. We ignore that. You get rid of fermentation, you get rid of the too much cellulose, and you get rid of the irritants like spices and salt. I've noticed by doing that, my gut is the best it's ever been, and I'm not as strict these days like I was before, because I wanted to be raw, right? We want to have fruit in the day, and then we want to come down with a salad in the evening to ground ourselves, have a little savory fun and all of that. But it didn't work for me. So for me, I do just fruit with fruit juices during the day because I do OMAD. I do 1 meal a day. I have for many years. Sometimes I'll do 2 meals. It's either juice and a fruit meal, or it's juice and a root vegetable meal, whether that's sweet potatoes or pumpkin. Well, pumpkin's a fruit, but potatoes. But I get rid of the skin because that's where all the cellulose is. And I've noticed just simple mono meals like that, I don't propose a problem for me. So also you have to look into how you're combining your food as well. So a lot of people might say, well, I have a problem with starch. I think what you're saying, John, is me here. I'm getting this candida acne or whatever, and I'm eating potatoes and I don't get that with fruit. Well, if you combine starch with other vegetables or fats or anything like that, that could create a huge problem as well. So getting rid of any fermented foods, salt, spices, and lots of cellulose, like in vegetable fruits and salad, lettuce, and all that stuff, can really improve the digestion as well. That's a sidebar.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, no, I'm glad you touched on that because I did want to bring that up because you do share a fresh perspective on the vegetables and the cellulose and sort of what role it plays with us because I think a lot of people within the raw food community do get obsessed with this idea
Yeah.
that everything has to be raw, and so I've got to make these massive salads and eat all of these vegetables that my body really can't do a whole lot with other than just use it as a broom. And then that, like you said, creates issues otherwise. So if we really look at, just get simple with it and look at our physiology, we don't have the herbivore digestive enzyme cellulase. So we can't process this kind of stuff. So it really is not, it's certainly not optimum. It's not nearly as optimum as the fruit is. And if we are going to consume it, we need to be looking at it intuitively. And yeah, so I really like your approach there. And I think going back to where if you are going to consume vegetables of that sort of nature, then it almost seems like it's better to lightly cook them, to steam them, or to
Yeah.
help break them down in that sort of way, which aligns with Arnold Ehret's work on the mucusless diet, where he has certain foods that are much less mucus forming when you do cook them.
Right.
So
Yeah, let me touch on that. Let me touch on that real quick because I
yeah,
was just going to say, that came to me where, a lot of us Arnold Ehret, geeks, we think that, oh, well, it's good because, the salads are going to help sweep the colon, and the fruits are the solvents and all of that. But it's all goes back to bowel transit time. That's another thing I learned as well. If your bowel transit time is good, it may not propose a problem. But if you already have digestive issues, and let's say your adrenals are down, all that fiber could actually slow down the bowel transit time. And so there's just more food in your gut that's not properly digested. And what happens when carbohydrates don't digest? Fermentation stage, animal products, putrefaction stage. And so the better your digestion, the better the bowel transit time. Well, it's like, well, what's going on here? I'm eating potatoes that are starchy and mucus forming at some level. And yet my digestion's improving because my bowel transit time is better than it was before, trying to burden my body with all this raw, hard to digest plant matter. And so that's what I've experienced. That it's like, my bowel transit time is quicker. So I eliminate what I'm consuming, and I don't know, my gut feels better than ever because I had, like VP, it's funny how we have like the same last names kind of, but my family all had colon issues, ulcerative colitis, colon cancer, and all these things. And so maybe this might be helpful for VP with his dilemma, as we've all watched with the digestion. Maybe it's too much of that I'm mentioning, and try to experiment with it. I'm trying, but a lot of people they don't want to. Oh, I don't want to cook my veggies though. I want to be all raw, And it's like, well, if you want to be all raw, then just eat fruit and be all raw, But if you want something savory, you do your body a favor and don't try to burden it with food that's not designed for it. We are not herbivores in any stretch of the matter. And so, yeah, it's just something I wanted to mention on this because I want to see more people experiment with it, see if they get the same results that I have gotten.
It's funny, and I'm just getting into raw salads again because they've been fun to have a little savory kick, but like I've been obsessed with bowel transit time this whole time. Like I'll observe, and it's like if my dinner didn't leave the next day, it's like, okay, what happened? And I'm trying to fix it, and I'm trying to speed up the time, and I can see it like this. I'm having these salads, and it feels like it's helping to increase, but I don't have a giant salad. Like I agree with you. Like we can't digest it, and I can see it in the toilet. Like it's not digesting at all. It's acting as a broom. So, and I like food process everything. So it's all chopped up fine. Like that's the only way. But I've always noticed that steamed vegetables digest better. You don't see pieces of broccoli floating around. Like you break it down. That's what cooking does. And that's why I have a bit of a problem with 100% raw fanatics when it just seems weird, like a pumpkin growing naturally. Why wouldn't we be drawn to that when we can cook it and then it softens up? Like you think somebody didn't throw one on the fire. Like, what the hell is that? They took a chunk out of it raw and it was like, ow, what the hell is this? And threw it out in the fire. And then that smell came and it's like, what's that? And then they tried it and it was softer. And it's like, I feel like we're here to do something with cooking skills, and some of these foods just help us survive. And I don't know, once we get healthy, we should be able to tolerate them. This should be good.
It's interesting you brought up the pumpkin. It's interesting you brought up that pumpkin because I asked that question for a student in class in Florida with Robert Morse. And the only thing Robert Morse said was, because I asked him, I'm like, well, pumpkins, I mean, they're fruits, right? But you can't really digest them properly raw, and it's much easier to cook them, you know? And he's like, oh, well, those are man-made, so they don't count. That's all he said.
Oh, damn. That's just my starch addicted mind looking for approval of my starches. But
well, another thing that I was thinking about too is that, like, I was always so fixated on, and I still believe it to this day, that original humans were frugivores, we're tropical species designed for fruit. But why do we have amylase, which is a digestive enzyme to break down starch? It could be that we mutated our genes because that was the first food, I think, I don't know for sure, but quite possibly the first foods that humans were eating as when they migrated away from the tropics, because they're trying to find a fuel source that's similar to fruit, which is like your root vegetables, right? I mean, potatoes, sweet potatoes, if you look at the carbohydrates, the proteins and the fats, it's pretty much similar to a banana or a mango, you know? So, you know, maybe they were intuitive, you know, like, all right, well, we got to find a fuel source we could have. And they went to the starches, and maybe that's what created that amylase digestive enzyme. I don't know. But I would think about that, you know, and then I was like, oh, you know, as a staunch fruitarian, I'm like, oh no, you know, amylase is there to help you to digest unripe fruit, you know, and there could be something to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting to that space to where we can eat those starches on a more regular basis, I think is an important step to note, just for anyone listening in. So I would kind of like to go over, you know, John, kind of your take on how does someone coming from a standard everything diet start to work on into this way to where you are able to eat simply, eat starches and fruits potentially without having the digestive blow bag, without experiencing the health repercussions. So I know that's a big question, but if you could just give a quick, or you know, an overview of how you recommend someone start on this path.
Yeah, this is a good segue to kind of talk about the microbiome as well. Well, the first thing I tell my clients that come to me on a standard American diet, because I get clients like from all different types of backgrounds. You know, it's crazy, you know, the difference. And so I'm getting them all. I get people that are like, I won't even go there, but you know, and you know, their mind and their lifestyle, it's not kind of like us. You know, they don't have the intuition and the understanding of whole foods and all of this stuff. It's not. So I have to start, you know, baby steps. And the baby steps that I always say is get rid of processed food. That's your first step. Is just stop eating processed foods. And because I'm vegan, I love the animals, I tell them to go vegan as well. So if you can get rid of eggs, you know, dairy and animal tissue and their milks, and you get rid of processed foods, then that's your first step. And to always have fruit for breakfast. If you could create a habit of eating fruit for breakfast, that the fruit will kind of set you up throughout the day to want to eat healthier. You know, it's just something about fruit breakfast that kind of helps set you up for making better choices for lunch. So that's usually what I would tell them to do, is get rid of processed foods, and then, you know, fruit for breakfast, and then adopt, you know, work towards 70 to 80% raw, you know, and in the evening, you know, to whatever recipes are like, you know, geared around root vegetables, because the root vegetables are easier on the body, in my opinion, than the grains and the beans and that sort of thing. So root vegetables and like yams, sweet potatoes, pumpkin. Well, I just throw in pumpkin because it's similar. And those types of foods, right? And so you have to start somewhere. I don't like to like start where it's like, okay, have some mock meat burgers for dinner. These are addictive foods, just like the other, the animal-based fast food.
And what's in that mock meat anyway? Is it actually
Right.
mock meat, or is it just ground up something? Who knows what it is?
It's isolated pea protein and
Yeah, so they say.
Yeah, you don't even know if it's even soy. It's like plastic. So I try to get people to just be creative, whole foods, get rid of processed foods, and have a fruit breakfast. That's usually where I start them. And then it just happens naturally where as I work with the client on a personal level and they have questions, I try to figure out replacements and that sort of thing. But for a guy like me that isn't a dietitian, has this big, menu plan for people, I don't do that because, I'm an iridologist. So I'm trying to help people detoxify their body. I want to get you to regenerate your body and especially the women that want to, have babies, let's get you cleaned up. So it's real simple, diet, and I think that anybody could do the non-processed foods coming off of a standard American diet. And I would say do that for at least 30 days. And the better you ease into it, I'm telling you, you're not going to go through as much. You're going to go through temptation. You can't avoid everything and make everything perfect. That's not the way it works. You're going to have cravings for foods. But if you slowly ease into building a new microbiome, it's going to create more sustainability in the long run. So, I try to instill in my clients to do the work. Look at this like, you're signing up for a gym. You got to put in the work and you got to deny yourself to get results. It's everything in life, you have to do that. That's where I get my straightforward kind of persona or whatever. So I'm trying to motivate people to go, I could totally do that. I don't want to give them all these options because then it just feeds that addiction. Just go vegan, right? We could just go vegan and eat whatever you want vegan. And some people come to me that are extremely overweight where I kind of have to go there and just work with them slowly. But usually when I do the iridology reading and I look at their health assessment and I observe their entire history, that in itself motivates them to want to make changes that are to where they can, do that kind of a diet where, okay, I could do that. I could do fruit and cook veggies in the evening. So that I'm trying to motivate people to go further, but to take their time as well. You don't need to rush into it unless you got tumors and neurological problems and you're bedridden and need to get your life back. Then, okay, we need to, like Robert Morse with a pedal to the metal kind of approach. And that's usually why he has that mentality, because he gets people like that. But I get people from different backgrounds. So, but yeah, I'm always trying to inspire and motivate them. Like, hey, you could do more than you think you can. We don't have to do these little baby steps. You're not going to get your body, you're not going to detox too aggressively if you're still eating, cooked vegetables in the evening. And most people don't even detox really that effectively on fruits and salads all raw. And once you get to the all fruit level and you stay there for at least 90 days, and then you repeat and you keep going, that's when you really start to experience some of these things that you may not have known from what you're trying to accomplish on your protocol. Yeah, I don't want to beat that over the head, but back to the microbiome thing too. Also, what I've learned with working with clients, and I've learned some level with my own experience, is that let's say you're coming off of a standard American diet and you're jumping right into a water fast, or you're jumping right into an orange juice or a grape and lemon or whatever, just aggressive fast like that. Well, juicing isn't a fast, but it's fasting from digestion. So it's fasting at some level in that regard. I discourage people from doing that, because we live in this society where we want quick fix, and we want instant gratification and we want things to happen now because, that's how we've been conditioned. But if you have a microbiome that's been created on junk food like that, the microbiome doesn't feed off of juice, right? It feeds off of fiber. It feeds off of, that's how we feed the microbiome. So I would discourage people from doing that, because 9 out of 10, those that do that, they end up going back to eating crap food, and they end up going back to eating foods that they wouldn't even normally eat. Why are people getting these intense cravings? I think what's going on is that they haven't fully flushed and shifted their microbiome. And so these little microbes are trying to survive off of the mucus in the body. And they're little resilient demons. And so when you go to refeed, they get excited. They may not want, the alkaline foods, but they're going to be excited that they get to eat something, right? Because they're not juicitarians. They want food. And so when you excite them, your cravings just go through the roof. And that's why it's so important to shift your microbiome first before you do water fast or a juice fast, so that you don't run into that dilemma. Not everybody does, but most people do. So yeah, I kind of wanted to use that as a segue with the microbiome as well. I'm a firm believer in transition, and especially when it comes to fasting. Give it 30 to 90 days on the diet first. Master your discipline there, so that when you do go to fasting, you're going to break it intelligently, and you're going to have a new microbiome already, to where you're not going to have these out of control intense cravings for junk food after you break your fast, because that could actually create more of an issue. It really can, because you shock your body. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's, when the clients come to me, I like to go, okay, let's get your diet down first, and then do fasting down the road. Toward that.
Yeah, just having
Go ahead.
that sort of balanced approach, I think is really important, and really, again, going back to not defining your reality based on what someone else is doing, because we get these ideas with going on these cleanses, or doing things quickly based on what someone else is doing, and we don't really look at where we are within our journey, and just enjoy that particular aspect, and take it slow. So yeah, I really like that approach.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I
for
noticed
sure.
those cravings after the 90-day juice fast. It was pretty intense. I tried to stay 100% raw. I was raw for 2 weeks, and man, did I ever start craving stuff. And I was eating like a block of tofu a day, whereas usually I would never touch that stuff, but I was just like, I had to eat something, and I didn't want to cook it, even though tofu is cooked, but it was like no fiber. It was a nightmare. Like I came to that juice fast from a 1 meal a day vegan diet. It was just mostly rice and beans, but I guess that doesn't create the best microbiome. Oh, man, it's a interesting journey.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the grains and the beans, I mean, it's better than obviously processed fast food, but yeah, I've noticed that the grains and beans seem to be mucus forming, ash at ash. And by, testing my filtration, for so many years, I've noticed that like grains and beans used to shut me off like immediately if I ate them, if I cheated on them. And I never really had that issue if I had a baked sweet potato or something. So there's definitely levels with the plant food as well. And I mean, as we know, beans and grains are really high in phytic acids and enzyme inhibitors and all that stuff. They're known to inhibit nutrient absorption. So yeah, and beans are a nightmare for me for digestion. I actually am okay with tofu versus like black beans or pinto beans. Those ruin my day. I eat those.
Yeah, I seem to be somewhat okay with the tofu because it has no fiber. It's just soy milk coagulated with some whatever. But like, it's funny that mainstream veganism, what is pushed is all these super hard to digest foods. Like, it's all grains and beans, super like fake meats with wheat seitan and nut butters everywhere, and get your protein, and it's all about protein. And people are wondering why veganism in general fails. Like, I feel like I can sustain this forever now, just having the root vegetables. Like, it's such a savior to fall back to that level. Like, it may not be the optimal if you're looking to ascend out the dome. You might want to be fruitarian fully, but like, if you want to fall back somewhere, fall back to the potatoes and the sweet potatoes, and it's such a satisfying meal. And then work your way back up to raw if that's what you want to be. But just, there's levels to this game, and like, dropping too far down is not good. And I feel like the potatoes are such a savior, even though I feel good energy wise. It's just digestion can be weird sometimes, but I'm having like hot sauce. I made my own hot sauce. That can't be good for anybody.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right. Yeah, I do it too. I mean, sometimes, you know, if I have mashed potatoes, I'll add in a little coconut aminos in there just to give it some flavor. It makes it more exciting. But yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff
Oh,
gives
I
me
was
a
gonna
headache,
say. Oh, really? Yeah,
like
I know. I'm
bad. I don't know
sensitive
what
to
it is.
probably the sodium content or something, but I don't do well with spices and anything concentrated like that. It's better. I always feel better when I stay away from it. But as for the potatoes, I don't know if I read it somewhere where they did a study where they found that just boiled potatoes were like one of the most satiating foods known. So it's
Yeah,
very interesting.
I agree.
They get,
Because
you know, people pick on it for being nightshade, but yeah. Yeah,
before,
I think that the better we do our digestion, the better the outcomes are.
yeah, for sure. And before I like just decided to go to the potatoes, I was having thoughts of like, this is not working at all. Like this whole fruitarian thing. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And I just tried that. And I now feel like for the rest of my life, this could be completely sustainable. So if anybody's having doubts and they're thinking, oh, I need more protein and I need something else, I need meat for, it's like, as I lowered the protein, now I feel so much better. Like it's my energy's better, digestion's better, everything is better. You don't need the protein. I don't think, at least to build, like I still have a respectable body. I don't need to be this super like bodybuilder. I never wanted that physique anyway. So I'm still very strong. I got a weighted vest now. I'm doing one arm push-ups with like 16 pounds on me now. And yeah, protein is so overrated and damaging. I think that's why it's overrated, because they know it damages us and they just push it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool to see that both of y'all have kind of come to the same space of you know, taking different routes, but coming to this idea that yes, fruit, we know intuitively that fruit is the optimum, but the starches, the potatoes, the things of that nature, they're not going to inhibit. They're not going to bring you back to any degree. They're a pretty neutral, grounding perspective to have. So if that's what's needed to have that sort of satiation or to have that sort of savory meal, then it's a wonderful thing to incorporate, especially if it keeps you from slipping even further and diving into the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's complicated for me as like an educator because a lot of people, because there's two different programs here. There's how do you heal effectively, and then how, you know, what can you do to maintain health that may not be ideal, you know, because potatoes are like a survival food. It's like a secondary option. But a lot of people struggle with getting ripe fruit, and it's very expensive, or they're in cold climates and all of those things. And so without question, it's not something you want to incorporate in your diet in the beginning. You know, you want to clean out your lymph system, and the fruit's really going to help, you know, provide more energy for the body to heal and repair, you know, because it's so electromagnetic, it's hydrating, it eliminates, and it helps you eliminate effectively, and it's astringent too, so it helps clean everything properly. But down the road, just to kind of find sustainability, like I don't think that trying to make a dogmatic fruit diet is necessary. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Like we don't see people in hospitals or having serious health problems like we do in this Western world from eating steamed potatoes or steamed sweet potatoes. You know, we just don't see that on record. So you know, I've learned over the years to not be so like dogmatic about everything. All starches are bad, or all fats are bad, or all. I don't think they're all created equal. You know, and so, you know, but I definitely wouldn't encourage somebody with like serious lymphatic problems. You know, they have pain everywhere in their body. That fruit and potato diet is enough, because it definitely is not for healing.
Yeah, I agree, because I feel like I still have some healing to do, and what I'm doing right now is just kind of maintaining my health, maybe making it a little better, 2 meals a day, 1 fruit, 1 starch, but I still need to fast more to fix up and shore up the last couple things. But as you were saying before, the adrenals, do you do anything special to help heal the adrenals, any herbs, or is it just mainly rest?
Yeah, I honestly, man, I have found that avoiding stress, and not, you have to understand that people are also energy too. You ever notice when you get around certain people, like you just feel calm and uplifted and you just love being in their presence. And then there's certain people that they feel like just such an aggravate, it's just, I can't be around you or whatever. That can contribute to a lot of stress as well. So a lot of, I don't know your personal life, and we all have, our own personal lives. But for me, it's the adrenals have always healed when I am not like, trying to pursue a relationship, let's say, with a girl, like, which I kind of am here in Thailand, but Thai women aren't very spiritual. That's another topic. But when when you get to attach to things like that are not good for you, that are creating a lot of worry or stress or expectation on those things, it's almost impossible to get the adrenals to heal. And so, I think healing the adrenals is a spiritual journey. I think it's the healing is more spiritual and emotional than it is like metaphysical. Your adrenals have a lymph system, just like any other tissue in your body does. You have to clean out that lymph system in the adrenals. That's the first step. But also, just being consistent and doing things that you resonate with, doing things that make you feel good. I think over time, that's the best way to go about it. I mean, we're always looking for something like what herb, or is there a glandular, or is there, this mineral supplement? Like, what can I do, to get a quick fix? And I just don't think it works that way. So, for me, I don't know. I think that's what helped me heal my adrenals more. It's just setting up a lifestyle that it makes me feel good, makes me happy. And a lot of the times we don't know what makes us happy. We have to kind of discover that. And sometimes we're just, going with the flow, or what's the word? We're just going with emotions or whatever. And we do these things every day, but we don't want to do them. So if you're doing things every day that you don't want to do, that's definitely not going to help your adrenals heal. Because the subconscious collects information. It all starts in the mind, and then it creates that acid chemistry in the body, because the adrenals are producing all this adrenaline or whatever. And so I think that's the best way to do. What I've learned too, also with adrenal healing, is grounding. Has helped me a lot, and breathing exercises like Wim Hof breathing exercises and grounding. Like your foot is it's like electromagnetic battery pack, it absorbs the earth, and so I think there's something with that plays into your circadian rhythm and how everything functions. Getting outside and getting the full spectrum lighting in the pituitary gland, right? I mean, the pituitary gland produces all these hormones. One of them is melanocytes, which helps build melanin in the body, which helps you, absorb vitamin D. Melanin helps you absorb vitamin D, and so all those things can tie into your adrenal health as well, because your pituitary gland is your computer, it's your overseer, it's your master. It controls all your endocrine system. It sends signals to everything to function properly. So I think there's something about being in nature, grounded, getting that full spectrum lighting in your eyes. All of those things can help contribute to adrenal health. Removing obstructions that, and soul tie, karmic ties or whatever in your life is really important. I think those are some good tips for that. I wish there was more things to kind of discover and figure out, but I think we could do it as a team and we'll bring it to the world.
Yeah, I noticed just moving to Thailand helped a lot with my health, even though I wasn't eating the best. It's something about Thailand, the people, they're so relaxed that just the whole culture isn't stressed out. It's not this go-getter culture that we have in the West here. And
right.
I just noticed it was like, oh man, there's no stress now. And then I just started building my YouTube channel more and focusing on that, and everything was fun. And I noticed when I moved back here, it's the stress. Even though my job didn't change, it did kind of, for some reason. Like the pressure was different, and I'm back in the West, and there's something, if you can get to the tropics, I highly recommend it. Although now things are weird. Isn't Thailand doing like all this? There's a curfew now and things are getting strict.
Yeah, not really. I'm in Phuket, and there's a curfew, and then they take it away. But it's like the curfew is really going to affect people that are not really like us. You know, they go out to bars and that sort of thing. Like, but other than that, I could go to the beach every day. Like, it's not a problem. It's still very peaceful and relaxed. But yeah, I think the only restrictions are really like, you know, the bars, you know, in certain places close down at like 10:30 or whatever. But that is a good point though. Thailand definitely has that relaxed feel. You observe the Thai people, they're just always happy, joking around, smiling, you know, and they call it the land of smiles, right? But that could also be a problem. I've noticed it a lot, at least the youth, they're very, very lazy. But maybe it's good to be lazy in some ways, you know, because it eliminates that stress. You know, we're so like hyper focused, you know, and want everything to be perfect. And they're maybe more connected to nature, so where they don't really care about those mundane things as much as we do, which probably helps sustain their health, knowing that they live off of, you know, the weirdest food you can imagine, all this fermented meats and stuff. But they have a lot of health problems too. They definitely have a lot of health problems. Every girl I've met, it's usually girls. Like, it's weird. I don't have any Thai guy friends, but you know, I'm very social, so I'll go down to the beach or I'll go get a massage. I'm always talking and trying to, you know, build relationships with them to learn more about their culture and stuff. And a lot of them have a lot of health problems. They really do. A lot of gut related issues. And like my ex-girlfriend had just terrible pain in her ovaries. You know, it was always like a nightmare when we tried to, like, you know, do our thing. But yeah, they definitely have health problems, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you touched on a good point of, you know, health is all about these various connection points we have with this and I say this knowing that all three of us are on the same page, but on this level stationary plane that we're living on, the more connected we are to it, the more grounding that we do, the more that we're able to consume the foods that grow that connection, the better our body can balance out, because we are this electromagnetic being. And so when we have this balance, it creates this balance everywhere else. So some people might excel in some areas, like in Thailand. You know, you mentioned they have the less stress. They're spending more time outside. They're not in this hustle bustle all the time. But a lot of their diets are shit. So they've got some connection points that are great and some connection points that are really off. So if you can figure out where in your life those connection points are off and realign them, you come back to this completion. You know, this idea that we can balance out fully. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that. And yeah, I am grateful that you know, John, you mentioned the other day, I think it was one of the first times you talked about it, but the truth of the matter that we do live on a level, flat, stationary plane, or at least that's your best understanding of it. And it's refreshing to have another person come to that truth as well. So just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, it makes more sense to me than the original model of, you know, the heliocentric model and all of that. And yeah, for sure. But I also think it's more of a projection than anything. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we are the projectors of consciousness. You know, we are infinite fragments of the one infinite consciousness, just here projecting that consciousness outward. And our joined effort, our co-creative experience is what created this physical plane for us to dance on. You know, to experience the physical and to, you know, to have fun with. But we just kind of we played this game so hard that we wanted to forget who we were and how we got here, so that it was even harder to get back to the starting point. Hey, John,
Yeah,
we're getting some feedback from your end. It's like
from From my end?
Yeah, it's like making a bunch of beeping noises and
Yeah, because everything's quiet. Everything's super calm right now. There's nothing on or anything that I'm aware of.
okay, that seems to be better now. Or it might just be when I'm speaking.
I'm not sure what that is.
It clears up when you're speaking, John, but when either of us is talking, it seems to flare up quite a bit. I don't know if you moved locations a second ago.
Me?
Yeah,
Can you
or
guys
maybe,
can you guys see me? Can you guys see me in the video?
no. You turned your video off a while ago, which helped with the audio.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Sounds like
sure.
we're not grounded. There's some electrical interference, and it's just reminding us that we all need to ground right now, and we can make it go away with our minds. And
Well, I think when I started talking about the flat Earth, I think that's when the feedback started coming in.
yeah, they shut us down.
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting that this happened right as we talk about flat Earth, which is probably the most censored, controversial subject on the internet right now.
It's funny. I think Charlie, I don't know, I'm following his Telegram, but I think he said he doesn't even have one, so I have no idea who I'm following. But he posted some image of an eye. So basically someone laying down and the camera pointed, and it was just the dome and the flat Earth, and the center was the magnetic mountain, and the ring outside was like, wow, it's like everything is a hologram in a tiny piece. Each cell has the whole universe. And yeah, I think it is flat.
Yeah, I mean, really what got me observing that concept was the horizon, how it's just level, no matter how high altitude you go up. And I've been way up there, and it's just, and all the visuals that we've seen on YouTube. But the one thing that really got me thinking about it was, why the hell is Antarctica so regulated?
Mhm.
Like what's the point? It makes more sense in the flat Earth model why they would, make it. I mean, the Antarctic Treaty, like, it's like, I don't know all the fundamentals and the rules, but apparently, we can't go explore. And the question is why? So yeah, that's really kind of what got me into that. I used to be kind of a flat Earth nerd back in the day, and then I just stopped kind of looking into it as my life got more occupied with other things. But it sounds like you, Justin, are really into that. Do you have any proof points on the topic, if you want to stay on that topic?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm consumed by it, but it just makes sense. It's like the simple truth of everything. When somebody tries to sell you something that's complicated, it's most likely bullshit, because the truth is always simple, and that's how it's designed, and it should be intuitive. Kids know that the earth is level before they start pushing the globe lie, before they start pushing this ball onto them, because like you said, you just have to look out and you can see that it's level. You can see that the water is level. So until they push the lies, we don't come to anything else. But just another, the horizon thing is a great one, but another one is just the fact that the North Star, or the pole star, it never moves ever, and no matter where you are, and it's been that way for however long we've had written history. And supposedly we're floating in space and wobbling and tilting and spinning at impossible speeds, and yet this star has stayed stationary still forever. Just as all the other stars go on the same path, and it's, they account for it by the distances are so vast that it just appears that they're stationary, but it's like, that's such a bunch of bullshit.
I mean, way before even looking into, like, these conspiracies or whatever, I remember having dreams as a kid where, like, the government had more land that they were hiding from us, and underground bunkers and all these things. And then as I got older and I started looking into these things, realizing that is actually true. I mean, I don't know for sure about the land, but it's interesting that when I started looking into flat Earth, people were talking about that, like there's more land out there, beyond the ice or whatever. And it's definitely a fun topic. And I mean, I would love to, like, go up and quote unquote space or whatever, and kind of look down and see it for what it looks like. Like, why don't we have an image of the Earth without CGI computer graphics? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, we have the technology apparently to go to the moon. I mean, why can't we get an actual photo of the Earth? So that's another thing that got me like, that's weird. And if it is flat, why are they hiding that from us is another question. And the only thing that kind of makes me think that if this was all true and observing my, my dreams as a child, maybe there is land they're hiding. And that's why they're hiding from us, because they want to have an escape route when they try to end humanity. Can we talk about this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really steer away from anything on my channel. I'm not monetized, and for some reason I still have a channel, so I don't worry about it.
Be respectful at somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But yeah, it's the everything in organized society is a lie, like literally everything. And because they can't have any fragment of truth remaining, because their entire scam crumbles as soon as the truth starts. Then it's the seam that breaks away the entire lie. So you can't have any truth whatsoever. And what better way to perpetrate this lie than to completely bullshit people about the very land that they stand on? And so it has to be foundational, and so that's why they start with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah,
I had a question about iridology. Like, what would you tell people to look for in an eye? Because I've always thought, like, my eyes are brown, but I do see the hint of blue, like, but it's not getting any better over the like 13 years I've been like mostly, well, not mostly fruit, but I've done a lot of cleansing, and it doesn't seem like they're getting any bluer. But like, maybe you can talk a bit about what you've seen in people's eyes and the changes. Have you seen like brown to blue eyes?
Totally. I have, but I saw it in myself. So before I like became an iridologist and started studying the art of iridology, I saw major changes in my eyes where they did look more blue and way more blue than, and I have photos to prove it as well. With clients, those that really do a lot of work and they eliminate properly, their eyes do change, and also their symptomology changes too. But that's your lymph system for sure. That's your lymph system for sure, because eyes do change. I've seen tons of my clients, their eyes changing. Crazy. Like, I've had photos of people that their eyes are like fully brown, but there's that one nerve ring that shows blue. And then a year later, they've sent me photos, which I was like, please, can I show the world this? Like, please. But people are so private, they don't want me to do it. So I have to be respectful to my clients. But half of the eye was blue. I'm like, what? So they all of a sudden, half of the eye, the bottom half was blue and the other half was brown. So they're working this stuff out. It's interesting how the eye kind of turned out like that. But definitely, I've seen it in other people and myself. And yeah, it's if you clean out this waste matter that's lodged up in these spaces all throughout your body, you should start seeing your eyes changing, especially getting clear. They may not look blue overnight, but you should notice them less cloudy and milky looking to more clear and more marble looking color. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's the lymph system for sure.
Yeah, just to summarize for anyone tuning in, basically we only have two true eye colors, and it's either light brown or light blue. And most of us who have varied eye colors, who have like a brown overlay, our eyes are actually blue underneath. And this what appears in the eyes is just this stagnant lymph and all of these health conditions that all of this toxicity that we've consumed throughout our lives that's clouded our eyes, clouded our vision. And so the more that we can clean up, the more that we can restore back to this true color. And So John's a license, or not a license, but an iridologist. He's studied iridology, and so he takes a look at people's eyes to determine what their health factors are. And I'm actually working with him on my eyes, which I'm super grateful for. Yeah, there's Kasey. Blue eyes
I
starting to come
wanna.
through.
Yeah, it looks like you got a lot of sulfur in your eyes. That bow, I mean, look at around your pupil, VP. Look at all that dark brown color. Why don't you have that same color around the outside of the pupil? That's your
Help.
bows, man. I
Help.
hate to shit on you right now. Being honest. I can't see though any of like. It's actually not too bad. I'm surprised you actually got him up close like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's those nice cameras.
Yeah, I was gonna try with a light, because then you really see it once you put the light in. That's what you should do. If anybody wants to do this, like get a camera as close as you possibly can, and then you shine a light to the side of it. Hold on. Let me get that all the way.
Let's see here. See if we can see anything. That's your left eye.
Yeah,
So
I can't tell if it's in focus.
It's
really
focused.
difficult, but it does look like you got thyroid. There's that black. I don't know. It's really hard to do it like this because this is not how you normally would do it. But it looks like in the thyroid area, there's some weakness going on. Upper abdominal.
That's hard.
Descending. Pocket in the descending colon area. I don't know. It's hard to tell doing it like that. That's not how. Just for the audience, that's not how you do an iridology report. I'd have to kind of get a proper photo to do a proper. The eyes have to look as really vivid, and there's got to be enough clarity. So
I do
really
have
see all the
pictures, but
tribeculas and all.
I don't know how I would share them.
I can give you permission, or I've got some as well I can share.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll give you permission.
If you guys where you could throw up a photo on the screen and I could just kind of look at my chart and maybe we could do something like that. That would be fun.
So you should have permission to share if you got some. I've got some I can pull up as well.
If you can make it work so I can.
How would I do that? I've never done that. Oh, share screen?
Yep.
Okay. Is that working?
Yeah.
So that's my left eye.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna try to. Well, my light's kind of in the way, but let's see here. Okay, so you definitely have parathyroid genetic weakness and a lot of lymph stagnation in that parathyroid gland, and the bronchius as well. Lacuna, right at, I don't know, 930 on the chart. That's right in the, the parathyroid area and thyroid. So there's genetic weakness in that parathyroid and thyroid. I'm seeing that. Your transverse colon, all those radiosolaris radiating those lines right there that's going up in the brain area. That's an indicator that your pituitary and pineal needs work. Your cerebellum, the back of the head, that's your dizziness and equilibrium centers. You have that violet hue around the eye. You see that blue purple color on the right side of the eye, on the outside. That's indicating blood circulation problems, which is really just could be to where you start to deal with elevated cholesterol, but with your lifestyle that's not going to happen. Well, it could if you go back to the carnivore. I'm losing my voice, guys, because I talk so much. I see I see a big crypt right there, right in the abdominal wall and groin area.
Would you say this is a blue eye?
Oh yeah, good. Looking at it, yeah. Yep, I would, because I see on the bottom. This is the thing. This helps me understand your frustration with diets, because when I look at your eyes, it's that typical eye that does show that you were born with the collective lymph system, brother.
Mhm.
You know, it's a perfect dye for that. And all that orange color is sulfur. Have you ever noticed sulfur come out of you when you were on the water fast or juice fast, like any orange stuff that smells like burnt rubber or anything like that?
Constantly. That's what I'm still dealing with. It's all this sulfur on the juice fast. It was never ending and it's still happening.
And that's why you're prone to fungal issues, because they love to feed on sulfur. You always deal with gas and bloat and GI discomfort because you got to pull that sulfur out. Looking at your eyes now really helps me find more compassion for you, bro. I know I've been kind of critical in the past, but this really does help me big time.
So how do you
I'm
get
just gonna go
the
back.
sulfur out? Like just fruits or?
Yeah, it's just you gotta just be consistent fruitarian and focus on the citrus and the astringent fruits. You know, the fruits that are known to really scrub the bowel wall, but it's also interstitial. So this is the thing. We get so obsessed with cleaning the bowel, we don't realize that giant colon is a lymph. There's a lymph system that trying to clean it, right? And that has to go through the skin and the kidney channel. So getting kidney filtration is vital to help pull that sulfur out as well. And that's probably why I saw a lot of it come out of my eyes, because I was lucky. And also I found a protocol that really worked for me, and that was monofruit diet, intermittent dry fasting in the evening hours through the night to the next day. And then just staying on GI herbs and kidney and adrenal herbs, you know, and that sort of thing. I'm trying, the eye's not really zoomed in. Okay, I could zoom it in. Nice. This is really cool.
Oh yeah, I could have zoomed it in more.
Yeah, I'm able to zoom it in on my side too. That's awesome. Yeah, you got bowel pockets in the transverse colon. You know, bowel pockets are pretty much just losing connective tissue in the colon because acids have been stagnant inside the wall of the colon for so long. And so it's just robbing calcium to neutralize acid. And so then you end up getting these pockets, you know, and then what happens is lodged up stool and mucus in there, and then it just, you know, it can be a problem. But so yeah, there's definitely bowel pockets in the transverse. You got that chronic pituitary. So come back to Thailand, man. You got to get the sun. There's that big window though that's on, you know, that side of the eye where it's hard for me to look at the heart area and the thymus and the lungs and all of that. But you see that puffiness on the right side of the pupil? You see that puffiness around the pupil? That's right there in the descending colon. You see how it kind of looks 3D?
Yeah.
That's your colon. That's your descending colon. As it gets puffy like a worm, it looks like a little worm, right? That's, I hate to say it. I don't hate discouraging people, but that's why on your juice fast, you were still seeing bowel movements come out of you. That's why. How long ago was this photo? That's the question. When did you take this photo?
This was during the juice fast. So this was day 42 of my juice fast.
Okay. Hey, that left kidney and adrenal don't look too bad though, man. And that's a good thing. I maybe a weakness in the left kidney I'm seeing. Definitely more in the subacute stage of the adrenal, that left adrenal gland. I'm seeing some mid-spine stuff going on. Definitely nerve rings underneath all of that. And that indicates, you know, low myelin sheath, you know, poor autonomic function because the adrenals control the autonomic. So then, you know, the nerve rings just are indicating nerve tension in the body. But yeah, now that the more I zoom in, I know for sure all that sulfur. So that's really your biggest antagonist to your issues is all that sulfur.
This was the first picture I ever took of my eyes way back 2011.
Yeah.
We're still seeing the first picture. If you're trying to switch, you gotta pick a new window.
Can you pop up your right eye? The left eye, there's not really much to look at now.
Let me just share this one. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, now we can see that.
Yeah, but
like super
really
red, acidic.
Jeez.
Yeah, See, these are classic chronic lymphatic problems. You're not the only one, man. I got people that come to me just like this, but I mean, this is a hard photo. It's not the best lighting. You see the reflection in the background. You see, your ceiling lights, in your hands. So it's hard to kind of visual. But bronchioles. Do you got stuff going on in your bronchioles? Do you ever have like wheezing and coughing going on? Because I could definitely see.
Yeah, for sure. Like I used to have bronchitis all the time, and yeah, I do cough. Like I used to smoke weed too, so I'm still kind of healing the lungs quite a bit.
Yeah. Get that 3-lung tincture from Robert Morse and try to see if that'll help expectorate a lot of that mucus out of there. Help improve your breathing and all of that. But
this was
definitely
the right eye.
Is this another one? Right eye?
This is right eye, like same 42 days of the juice fast.
Oh. Yeah, spastic bowel. Ascending colon showing a spastic bowel, and even possible prolapse in the splenic fixture part of the transverse colon. I'm seeing it kind of droop down a little bit, and then down towards the ascending, it looks spastic. Yeah, these are all classic bowel problems. This really helps me on. Oh, there it is right there. Chronic pancreatic weakness. This is a problems and need to eat simple. You've got chronic pancreatitis. I wish I could draw on it here, but I could do that maybe another time. But so your pancreas, what does that do? That controls your digestion of carbohydrates and plant foods. So that's probably another reason why you struggled with fiber and all of that. It's because you're not digesting it, because that pancreas needs to be cleaned up.
Interesting.
So chronic. I'm a fan of yours, bro. So I watch your stuff. I'm looking, and I'm like trying to remember our video, and it's all coming to life right now. Even your right showing chronic thyroid weakness as well. So both eyes are showing thyroid. Do you have problems with sweating?
Not really, but if it's super hot, I'll start to sweat. Usually I don't sweat much.
Yeah. Either way, I would be using the saunas big time. Because the thyroid controls your skin. The thyroid produces, it controls your basal temperatures. It helps heat up the body so it can properly sweat waste through the skin. And so, that'll help you with that, but there are herbs for the thyroid you can take but with you, I think you might have more of a overactive thyroid than an underactive thyroid. So you kind of want to be careful with in that regard. You don't want to stimulate a gland that's already hyperactive. But you just go to the kidneys and adrenals. That's the main shot right there. That's going to help improve all these weakened tissues that are in the eyes. It just takes work, man. I mean, what's the longest you've ever done on just fruit, or all raw for that matter?
Well, that would be this 90-day juice fast was my longest probably. And like, I don't know, like I did 6 months raw, but it was high fat vegan. So that doesn't even count. And most of my journey was like bits of 100% raw. Here, let me just stop sharing that. Bits of 100% raw, but a lot of like cooked starch at night, which is it does hold you back.
Yeah, big time. Because you gotta crack open those kidneys, man, and start looking at your eyes, and they should get lighter. But with me having the sulfur too, I stayed on fruit for at least 2 years straight, and I still saw sulfur come out of me. I still got work. I still have work too. I could still dig deeper too, but I'm just not. I don't care anymore. I'm trying to be disconnected to my body, and I'm cool with 90% health right now. But I still have work to do if I wanted to really dig deep to pull the rest of that sulfur out. And it's just very stubborn. It's like what Robert Morse says. It's like super glue. It's gorilla glue. And, you know, they use sulfates to harden Goodyear tires, right? I mean, it's a preservative too. So it helps preserve foods from, so it's very sticky, and it's also, it proliferates with fungus as well. If you have a lot of sulfur in the gut, then you might be doing everything right, but still have fungal issues until you pull that out, because they survive off of the sulfur. At least that's what Robert Moore says.
Yeah, and it was coming out still day 90 of the juice fast. Like, I know I'm not finished pulling it out, but it was coming out in droves. And I'm like, man, this sulfur. And it's like, I took sulfur-based medication for the colitis for like 6 years. So that just coated the GI tract even worse. And so, yeah, it's a bitch trying to pull that stuff out.
Yeah, I remember you saying you smell like the pharmaceutical smell of that stuff coming out. Like it has that distinct, so you know that's where it comes from, which is just crazy how sticky this nasty toxic stuff can be. And why it can be so discouraging for people to, when, you know, because it takes commitment, and it takes time, and it takes, you know, we've fucked ourselves up so badly, and not, we shouldn't like wear that weight as if it's our fault necessarily, because, you know, society pushes all this stuff on us, but we do have to take responsibility that yeah, we've really fucked ourselves up, and it's gonna take some work to get back to this back to where we need to be.
Yeah, I think some of us, like, we don't think about how sticky this stuff really is and how deep it is in there. And like, just thinking, like, if you have a real mess on your counter and you just like spray it with water a little bit, like, that's not going to do anything. You got to get the lemon on there and like let that soak in for a bit, and then scrub. And a really stubborn stain like that, like a burnt pot or something, like, you really got to go at it after, like, over and over again. And so that's kind of what it's like letting these fruits flow through you, and like they're doing stuff, but like it's got to be constant and really getting deep in there, and then fasting. And it can be a journey if you were as dumb as I was, eating so much fast food and going the medical route. That's why I'm so mad against these like mandates coming up where everybody must be forced to Western medicine, because most of us who are health nuts have went that route, and that's why we're doing what we do, because that's such a terrible path for the body. And it's like, now it's like illegal to not go that way. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, we're seeking natural alternatives, and it's just insane. It's the world is insane, but we're standing up. We're fighting for it. All around the world there's protests, and hopefully we're getting stuff done. People are seeing it. I got this little flyer that said some stuff about the jab, and I left it in my lobby of the building, and I'm surprised it's been there for so long. But the other day I saw it thrown out outside the door, like just on the ground. And so I brought it back in and put it on the shelf again. And then again, it was thrown on the ground. And I'm just thinking, like, just throw it in the garbage if you don't want it. Why are you littering? Like, that's the mindset of that type of person, though. Probably had double jab and like, I don't want to see this, like, crazy world right now.
It really is.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Go ahead.
actually in the process of working with people that have gotten the jab, and one of them that's coming to I have her on the fruit protocol with the herbs and the fasting and everything, and she's having great success. I ask her all the time, are you noticing any of these side effects that are prone to happen for those that have gotten them, and these neurological symptoms? And I try to break it down for her, you know, that could indicate that neurotoxicity and all of that, and her thinking, and just trying to break everything down. You know, I've never felt better in my life. And so that right there tells you the power of the fruits, that, you know, it's that it is working, even those that are getting it. But I try to tell people, don't get it, because we need to learn to know, and we need, you know, because, you know, don't think that, oh, if you get it, you know, you're promised to have success, you know, if you go on a detox. But I just want to let everybody know that maybe somebody's listening, and maybe they're wanting to make changes in their life. Like, don't think that, oh, you know, you did something, you just live in that self-defeat or feeling so shameful. And no, I think that the regeneration that has taken place on the fruitarian diet with the herbs and the fasting, I think it's still going to be successful with those that are doing it, but I don't know for sure. I mean, these double jabs, these, what do they call them? The
booster shot.
All these boosters, you never know what the hell's going to happen. But people are saying like some of the heavy metals and stuff in them, it's like creating this EMF kind of like frequency where just being like the whole shedding thing. I just want to share my own experience, just with this mindset of nature and detoxification and regeneration and totally anti-vax for a good reason. I've been around people that have been vaxxed, and I'm not coming down with cough, or respiratory problems, or any kind of neurological issues at all. And I've never felt better actually now. And I've been going out more as well. So that's another topic as well. So I don't know how much of this shedding is an actual thing, but it does make sense, for people to walk around like walking Wi-Fi towers and getting radiated from people. But it kind of ties into like the germ theory to me, you know what I mean? And yeah, I kind of don't want to go down that road.
Yeah, well, it can almost stimulate a response within someone who has already toxins built up within their body. If they see someone else or feel someone else's energy that has these toxins exuding out of them from taking these injections, they could then get a response themselves if they are not in a space of being fully detoxed or at least on that path. So that's where I kind of see the whole shedding idea come to fruition. It's like it's a natural response to something that's not right. This is not right, and so the body is just preparing itself to deal with that in a way that makes sense in that moment. But yeah, who knows? It's hard to say. I do ascribe that I don't think there's anything that we can't heal, but I certainly wouldn't advocate for making that more difficult on yourself to get to that point by injecting yourself with all sorts of poisons and whatever else.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, hey, brothers, we're coming up on 2 hours here, and wanted to pass it around for some closing comments before we wrap it up today. So, Kasey, I'll start with you. What have you got to close us out today?
Yeah, just thank you both for the inspiration to continue on. And every time I come on here, I'm like, I should cleanse more. I should get more, stop these potatoes for a bit. And yeah, tonight I'm gonna not have potatoes. Take that. But yeah, I do want to do more fasting, and the dry fasting was interesting. I feel like my issues aren't going to be solved by the dry fasting. I need to pull more and do some more maybe juice fasting and just whole fruit cleanses and stuff like that. But it's an interesting journey, and eventually you get over the hump to where like you feel pretty good. So now I don't have any like major health complaints. I'm just shooting for perfection here, and my digestion's pretty good, like compared to most people, I bet. Like I'm flowing every day. So just the odd cramp, I do have some issues in the skin. So we still have stuff to work on, but you can get there. You'll get there pretty quickly. Just keep on the path. That's about it.
John, what you got for us to close out?
Yeah, I just thank you guys for having me on, and it's been a good, build, a productive, positive, informative build, and I hope that the people that watch it or listen to it, benefit from it and learn more perspective. And it was fun and a privilege to talk to both of you. I want to say with Kasey, you've been a huge part of my healing journey, whether you know it or not. When I found your channel, it was hard to laugh because I was in so much pain, and I was just so down and out and depressed. And early on, before I found the remedy to heal myself, and watching, I had medical marijuana at the time as well. So I'd smoke a joint and I'd put on VP and I would laugh my ass off. And it just helped bring in that activity in my life because I got a chance to laugh, you know, and we know that laughing is very healing and it's very alkaline. So, you know, I've been a fan of VP for a long time, and just know that, you know, those gifts that we have, man, really do help impact a lot of people's lives, and just keep building on those things. So whatever our gifts are, let's strengthen them. And like I always say, you know, LSI principles is love, serve, and inspire. And I think that's what's going to help us to find that peace that we're all looking for in life. So it's, yeah, really grateful for you guys. It's nice to connect with like-minded humans that are open-minded, and also we could all learn from each other. And I hope to come back on another episode in the near future. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, brother. We'd love to have you back. And I know we had great feedback on the iridology, the brief little iridology we dipped into. So maybe we can get you back and do a more in-depth presentation on how to do an iridology, how to do an iridology reading, and what goes into that. I think that'd be a fantastic conversation. So yeah, if anyone is looking to get an iridology reading, definitely hit up John. He's helping me out. It can certainly help you out too. And it just, you know, the solution is simple. The solution is to get with the fruits, and you can use the herbs to kind of help push some things along. But it really is simple. So you don't need to go into a lot of in-depth to figure out how to heal. But if you want to have a little bit more targeted approach and kind of uncover some answers as to why you've experienced ailments throughout your life, iridology is a fantastic way to dive into that and to get a better understanding on what all that looks like. And you know, I can highly commend John for his work and selfless effort in doing that. But there are many others out there who you can get those reports from. So I'd recommend taking a look into that too. So yeah, with that, just wanted to thank you both for being here. It's truly is an honor to spend time with brothers who are aligned on this path towards truth. And yeah, every conversation I have like this, it just invigorates me and inspires me to keep going. So thank you both for that, and let's keep going.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I love you both, and yeah, thank you all for being here in the chat, and yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.
Love you guys.